So, Rohit, can you just explain a little difference? What is 2D traditional animation, and what are the other divisions which are present in the same field, like animation? So, there are different types of animation, like stop motion, 3D, traditional. So, what's the major difference, and how you conclude key which one is more promising?
Well, I mean, the medium really depends on the artist who's telling the story, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't really matter if you choose 3D, 2D, or stop motion. It's really a personal preference.
Mhm.
Of course, there are some things, I mean, every medium lends some quality to the storytelling itself.
Yeah.
And as far as 2D is concerned, 2D traditional animation is basically uh, the traditional approach where you do everything frame by frame. So you draw each frame and then you plan the whole shot and you draw everything. And that's one of the more tedious approaches to animation. And it is usually used in higher budget films, so mostly feature films these days. But back in the day, it used to be for TV shows as well.
Mhm.
But now TV shows generally use a hybrid approach, which is more of a rigged animation of sorts. So it's a combination of both hand-drawn and rigged animation. So rigged is something like you would see on Toon Boom, Harmony, or Flash, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's more restrained and more limited sort of animation. So that doesn't require much budget because you can just
Yes.
make one symbol or just one shape and then just transform it and animate it. And then you can use some traditional bits where you just draw everything by hand just for more eccentric details.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the hybrid approach, and 2D traditional animation is the one where you do everything by hand.
All
But
right.
yeah,
So,
but these
so,
days we don't really do it on paper as much. We do it
uh,
digitally, but it's still hand-drawn.
yes. All right. So, what do you think? Like, which style is more preferable and more career oriented? The rigged one or the traditional one, the hand drawn one?
Um, there's a
Because
career to be found in both actually. So yeah, and animation as an art form, it really is very fluid. So if you know 2D animation, you can easily pick up the rigged version of it as well. You can also dabble a bit in stop motion, and then you can also venture into 3D. So it really doesn't matter as much.
okay.
But yeah, for traditional 2D, you definitely need to have a knack for drawing because that is one of the key aspects of the medium. But for the rigged version of it, not so much. I mean, you could have some limited knowledge and skill set for drawing, but if you have a great understanding of how things move, of acting and performance, yeah, I think you can really have manage in rigged 2D animation and stop motion and 3D. Yeah.
All right. And one more very important question, like in nowadays, like most of the people are fond of getting into 3D instead of 2D. So like, and the mass crowd, mass artists like who used to prefer 3D as well. Like I have got a lot of inquiries, like whether we should go for 3D or 2D. So how you evaluate key, what's the future of 2D traditional animation, despite of we'll be having 3D? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite true that at least the American animation industry is more heavily driven by 3D animation. But
Mhm.
as is evident from a lot of movies that have been releasing over the past couple of years, things have really started to change and shift. Like Europe has always been very experimental and very art driven, and they have always kept the 2D animation art form alive. And there are a lot of 2D animated films as well, which keep coming out. And yeah, there are a lot of mixed media
Yeah,
stuff happening as well these days. Spider-Man is a great example as well,
exactly.
where you can see
Mhm.
all the 2D influence in the 3D. And then there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which coming up as well. And then
Yes.
Michelle with machines. So I
Same
think
like Star Wars Visions as well.
slowly, Sorry?
Star Wars Visions, which has
Yeah,
all
Star Wars
three
Visions
different
as well.
mediums like 3D, 2D, and stop motion, the clay modeling one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, So yeah, I think people are opening up to the idea of really experimenting more and really letting all those versions of animation live and thrive.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great time for picking up 2D animation because
Mhm.
it's alive and kicking, as they say.
Exactly. And for me, I personally like 2D more in terms of three, despite of 3D, because
Yeah,
3D is really good, great. But yeah, from the topmost studios in the world like Pixar, DreamWorks, if they're doing it, yeah, pretty sure like it's good. But yeah, for me, like mostly I have bought up seeing all these movies like from Ghibli Studios and all these things, and yeah, it's much more fascinating than watching a 3D all the time.
yeah,
So
definitely. 2D has that magical charm to it because they're obviously drawings, but
yes,
somehow they come alive and there's characters, there's emotion and everything. So, yeah, it's
exactly.
quite magic.
Exactly. There's one question which I'm pretty sure, like over here, most of the people has it in the mind because some are like very new artists and some would like to start their career into 2D. So what do you think? Like, what are the basic prerequisites for anyone who looking towards the career into 2D animation, especially?
Yeah, like I said, for 2D animation, I think one of the foundational skill sets that you need to have and you need to really love it is drawing because that's the language which you use to animate in 2D. So, yeah, I would say a great understanding of drawing, craftsmanship, just solid drawing, gestures and all of that, where you can really have your characters express without even moving them. So that's one of the key aspects for someone to pick 2D up. And apart from that, you really need to be a keen observer of life, I'd say, just in terms of how people act, what motivates them, how they react to things, what drives them, how they walk, how they speak, and all of that. Because especially in character animation, once you go deeper into character animation, it becomes more about the performance of it and less about the drawing aspect. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that's true for every animation art form, be it 3D, stop motion, 2D, whatever. So once you really get into it, it really becomes about the psychology of the character. And so, yeah, you really need to have a keen observation and an interest in life, how things move, both the technical aspect and the physics of it,
Yeah.
and as well as the emotional aspect of it as well. So, yeah, for 2D, I'd say drawing and great observation.